high school seniors say that they use cannabis on a regular basis. Now that compares to 17% who say they smoke cigarettes. Cigarettes are perfectly legal for most high school seniors, yet there's a lower rate of cigarette use than cannabis use. I think the answer to why that is that we've done a very good job of educating teenagers on the very real consequences and dangers of using cigarettes. And we've also successfully, taken them to a regulated market where it's above board and you know who's selling it. You can't just go, there's not a big black market in cigarettes. Cigarettes are not for sale at most schools. However, I defy you to find a school in this state where kids are not every day buying and selling marijuana to each other, because that's the black market. They are able to enter it. You don't have to apply for a license or any sort of bond to become a marijuana dealer. Just get $100 and someone will front you the rest for a quarter pound and you're in business. When I was in high school, I knew plenty of people, and I will admit that I was at times one who made a few $100s by selling pot to my friends. I mean, it was a lot easier to make money flipping quarter pounds than it was flipping quarter pounders at McDonald's. That's the market that you have now. You can't get rid of the market. You can only determine sort of what sort of shape it's going to take. And right now the market is dominated by the exact people we don't want in it, teenagers. That seems like a really bad policy. Also, we've had pretty good success reducing the harms of alcohol through regulation that we didn't have with prohibition. We prohibited alcohol, we tried that. It did reduce drinking rates somewhat, but the people who stopped drinking were casual drinkers. It was the guy who might have a beer after work, not hardcore alcoholics. That wasn't who stopped drinking. It was the casual drinker. They stopped, but the market continued, and it turned into a very violent market. So you had the rise of Al Capone in Chicago, and we got rid of Anheuser-Busch and got cartels and gangs everywhere, and that's the same thing that we've had with cannabis prohibition. I know a lot of the prohibitionists are concerned now about the rise of big marijuana. Well, we already have big marijuana. It's called the Sinaloa cartel, and La Familia down in Mexico have killed 60,000 people across the northern Mexico deserts. And that's who dominates the market today. That's who's dominating the wholesale market. If we legalized this, regulated it, we could have a domestic industry that was under some sort of control, above ground, and paying taxes. I think that's far preferable.
Yes.
And now to the point that it's actually what we're doing is immoral. Because I know for a lot of people that oppose legalization, they say it's a moral issue. Well, I agree. It is a moral issue. And I don't think it's wise for anyone to go out and to abuse any substance. I think there is a difference between use and abuse, however. But if you're using a substance to escape from reality and just try to shut out your problems, that's not going to help you, and that's a bad idea, and it's bad. Don't do that. But I also don't think that those people should be thrown in cages. And I don't think that other people who are just using it should be thrown in cages either. So what we have to look at is it moral to stop something by something even more immoral? And right now we're arresting 20,000 people in the state of Missouri every year for possession of cannabis. Not exactly, but around that. Some years it's 18,000, some years it's 22,000, some years it's 24. But so on average it's about 20,000. That's the equivalent of arresting all of Poplar Bluff, all of Piedmont, and all of Greenville every single year. That seems to be a tremendous waste of resources, and also a tremendous damage to the people whose lives are dramatically impacted by those arrests. And he says, well, but if they get an arrest, then maybe they'll think about what they're doing. Well, then they also might not be able to get a job later on. They also may not be able to get an apartment. If you get an arrest and a conviction for cannabis, you are ineligible for financial aid for a year, and more years upon further convictions. So if we want these people to have a good, fulfilling life, why would we throw roadblocks in their way because of this? That seems completely counterintuitive. And then those are just the everyday instances, all those people that get arrested. But then there are also the really extreme examples that I think you cannot be I find it difficult to believe that anyone could defend some of these, but so up in Park Hills, one of the cases that we talked about was Natalie and David DePriest, who was a couple. The guy, David, was growing, I think, a dozen plants, and he was arrested, and now they threw the book at him. I mean, they gave him the maximum penalty. In 90% of those cases, they would get probation. but he got 23 years, and it's absolutely insane. That is more than most violent offenders will ever get. His sister Natalie got 15 years for it, even though she basically her whole interaction with it was that she had helped water the plants a few times. That was the extent of her interaction. And part of the reasoning of the judge and the prosecutor was that they believed that marijuana should be legal, so clearly they couldn't be sorry for what they did, so let's throw the book at them. That borders on thought crime to me. But then that's not even the worst case in the state of Missouri, if you believe it or not. Jeff Mazansky, I'm sorry I got here late, but I have flyers about this gentleman that I'd be happy to hand out to any of you who don't know his case. But he's a man from Sedalia, and he is serving life without parole for a cannabis-only offense. Now he had priors. That's why he was given such a long sentence. But they were all cannabis-only. The first one was he sold a bag to his cousin, who then sold it to an informant. And then the other one was a possession charge. And then the last one was he was involved in a conspiracy to distribute about 4 pounds, but he was the low man on the totem pole, and he drove the guy that was going to get the marijuana to the hotel room. He didn't even have the marijuana on him when they were leaving and they were arrested. He was probably involved at some level of it, but he was essentially the last guy involved in it. And the guy that was the main guy, the target of the sting, got 10 years. Mazansky got life without parole. And in that same county, in Pettis County in Sedalia, a couple years before Mazansky was arrested, there was another guy arrested by the name of Ronald Wayne Greer, and he was arrested for attempted rape, and he was sentenced to about 20 years. And he got out in the middle part of the last decade, around 2006 or so. I could be wrong about the exact date. But in 2012, he reoffended. He went out and raped somebody again, and so now he is serving life without parole, but not before he overpowered the deputy that was trying to take him back to prison and set off a 4-county manhunt. Now, we gave the criminal justice system gave a guy who tried to do one of the worst things imaginable to someone else, and they gave him a more lenient sentence than a guy that committed something that is totally nonviolent, never hurt anybody. What kind of sense does that make? And we treated the more violent criminal more leniently. I think this is a clear case of we have limited law enforcement resources. Why are we using them to go after people like Jeff Mazansky instead of people who pose actual threats to our person and property? Those are the people that should be arrested and serving prison. Also, I think it is important to keep in context the sort of dangers that there are dangers to cannabis, but it is not as dangerous as most other substances. The dependence rate for cannabis is about 10%. That may seem high, but it's 32% for nicotine, 15% for alcohol. Also, to the point that most people who have used cocaine and heroin have used cannabis. Yes, I'm sure that's true. I'm sure they also have used alcohol and tobacco, and that's probably what they actually started with, or even going back further than that, caffeine. I mean, if you're going to talk about all psychoactive substances, there are certainly a lot of other ones that people try generally before cannabis. But it's pretty clear that most people who use cannabis do not go on, not only to not use other substances, but even use cannabis on a regular basis. As I was pointing out, there are over 40% of Americans have used cannabis at some point. So you're talking about somewhere around the vicinity of 200 million people have used it, yet only 19 million are regular users. So clearly that's not, most people don't become regular users. And then more to the point, the 19 million marijuana users that are regular users, there's only about 2 million users of all other illicit drugs combined. So most regular cannabis users do not ever become users of other substances. So yes, it does seem that it might seem like there is a connection between the fact that most people use cannabis before they ever use cocaine or heroin, but that is because cannabis is more acceptable in our society than those other substances. But there's no actual causal progression that's causing people to go through it that way. It just means that that's just sort of how social norms go right now in our society. But it's not like, oh, I smoke cannabis, now I got to do cocaine. That's really not how it works. If that was the case, then we'd have 20 million cocaine users in this country, and we don't have anywhere close to that. Finally, I'd just like to say that in a free society, the burden of proof has to be on those who advocate government coercion. We are supposed to be free in the society to do what you want to do as long as you're not hurting somebody else, unless the other side can present a very compelling case that the law that they are advocating is wise and efficacious and will achieve its results. And prohibition has just been shown to be an utter failure and to be a tremendous cost in both economic and human terms. And so that's why I think we should legalize and regulate marijuana in a manner similar to that.
Your turn. Question.
Can I say something? When you were deciphering from the alcohol and the marijuana when you were driving, do you think when you were deciphering the difference between the driving from alcohol and marijuana, do you think it was maybe because it was illegal? So you were paying more attention? You know what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
Because alcohol is legal and marijuana.
The perceptions under the influence of cannabis versus under the influence of alcohol, they're both bad. But they're totally different.
Yeah, I agree.
They're totally different.
Okay, I have a family, my mom and my sister were very much against marijuana all their lives. I have been a marijuana user off and on in my life, and some people some people know this, some people don't. And I'm not ashamed of it, okay? But it does help a lot. My mom takes it from rheumatoid arthritis in Arizona. Wonderful. She has done wonderful since she's been on. I have a sister that has bursitis in her hips, among other pain. Wonderful. She lives in California. She has a nephew that grows a pot farm, okay, for medical marijuana. Wonderful. He has not had no they have had no problems. They love it. And they've been so against it for all these years. But now they're looking at it more, the medicinal part, okay? As far as the drinking, my personal opinion, I would make drinking illegal and not marijuana. And I'll tell you why. I have seen more things happen negatively on alcohol than I ever have marijuana. I also have a brother that's been picked up for DWI a couple times, smoked pot all his life. He don't even drink anymore. He just smokes pot every day. Keeps his job. He owns a business, a carpentry business. So it doesn't affect his life, So I'm for the marijuana because of the medical aspect of it, but I'm also for marijuana over the alcohol. I'll tell you what. You know what got me into marijuana? Going to the bars, drinking. That's what got me into marijuana. I never even knew what a drug was till I started going out to the bar and drinking. And then all of a sudden I'm going into this and that. Okay, go ahead.
Can I also say something? And I do agree that all the studies demonstrate that alcohol is more damaging than cannabis and more addictive and all those things. However, going back to the point of prohibition, when we tried that with alcohol, it also didn't work. So I don't want to advocate that either. I think that we have to, as a society, think more about ways that we can solve our problems without saying, lock everybody up. There's a small group of people that needs to be locked up. That is, like I said, if you're a rapist, if you're a murderer, lock them up, get them out of society. But for the most part, we need to look to be able to solve our problems without throwing people in cages. That's my primary position.
Jimmy, you have a question?
Yeah, I'm more for the children. Our children go out on the streets to the darkest corner to find it. But it's what will they find looking for that? That's what I'm scared about. I'd rather it be legal where they can go to the store and buy it and not have to worry about our children getting on some kind of whatever they make now.
Did you have something to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that I find it funny among the people who want to initiate and enact laws to protect us that they never ask the reason why. Why, because there's always going to be addictive personality. An addictive personality is going to use anything to escape from reality. Why is that person doing that? And if it's enough people doing it, then you gotta look at society itself and say, what are we doing wrong that people are doing this? You know, and not punish the people who are doing it, you know, get to the root of the matter.
Well, maybe it's just not wrong.
Yeah, exactly. There's nothing wrong with having fun as long as you're not hurting anybody else. And if there's no injured party, there shouldn't be a law against it.
Yes. Well, you know who I am. My name is Cynthia Hemphill. I have terminal cancer, and my doctor recommended that I smoke it because I'm on morphine, Vicodin, Dilaudid, and that is not good for my body. I have to admit I smoked it. I don't smoke it to where I'm like a blubbering idiot. I smoke it just enough to take my pain away. And it's also been researched to shrink tumors.
You know, I'd like to say something about that. I think maybe everybody up here, everybody thinks that everybody but me thinks that medical marijuana is bad. That isn't the case.
Then let's
I
change
could
these
be a
laws.
big proponent of medical marijuana. I only think it should be strictly controlled.
1 second, in the order.
My name is Crystal Vanderhook. I am a recent cancer survivor. And the medicine that I take, the medicine that they have had me on drags me down all the time. You don't want to get up out of bed. You don't want to eat. But yes, I have smoked, and I'm doing a lot better. And I don't like the medicine that they give me. It makes me sick to my stomach. All I want to do is sleep all the time. And I want to be able to be out and around everybody. There's family, there's friends out in this community. And I believe that smoking marijuana is not going to hurt anybody. Just keep it to where the kids are safe from it. But leave the ones that need it alone.
Hang on. Go ahead. Lexi, you'll be next.
It is unlikely that any big pharmaceutical company is going to test marijuana for it against some other drug that they are promoting. They're not going to do that because it's not going to pay them to do that. Okay? We all have our indulgences and our overindulgences and dependencies like alcohol, TV, internet, food, marijuana, meth, cigarettes. Some of us hoard things. We all have our overindulgences, and it's up to us to control those things. I like my 2 glasses of wine a night, and I didn't start drinking until I was 22. And I've never smoked marijuana, but I've been around people that have, and they're really harmless. Anyway, I feel that alcohol can be an abusive situation, and you can get into abusive situations with alcohol or anything. So I think we all need to have our own control over those things that we are dependent upon. So that's all I have to say.
Can I let one more go? Lexi.
Yes, I have a question for you, sir. I was wondering why, if you smoked weed for so long, cannabis, why now are you standing against cannabis?
Okay, well, I tried to address that in my presentation, perhaps it wasn't fair enough. As I said, the people that I have known that have gone on the drug, they all started on marijuana, all of them. Okay? I can't think of one exception.
None of them drank first?
For cigarettes?
None of them drank first?
Stole their mom's cigarettes?
Yeah, drink some coffee.
Have a cup of coffee before work?
Hold it down, guys, hold it down. Hang on.
One thing that I did not mention, something new that I learned while I was preparing for this meeting. We have had over the course of about the last 20 years, tighter and tighter and tighter, laws controlling and also courts convicting people drinking and driving. The result, traffic-related, alcohol-related traffic deaths have reduced 40.9%. Not my figures. That's not my figures, Highway Patrol. All right? 40% reduction in the number of alcohol deaths. And we should put another intoxicant on the road? I think not. I think we ought to keep it illegal.
It's already on the road, man.
It's already on the road, there are already laws on the books.
Oh, the DUI, man.
It's already on the road, marijuana's on the road now.
I understand that.
And it's already on the law books, it's already against the law to